Well, hello there, my loves. I hope you're having a wonderful day because we have more work from home opportunities, and these opportunities are going to be equipment provided. So these are going to have special sort of shifts. One of these are going to be more daytime in nature, and then the other role is going to be more evening, sort of late nights in nature. So one of these roles is going to be for no phones. I know you guys love no phones, so let's go ahead and hop in. We're going to do the Home Depot role, but I did want to give you all a gentle reminder of companies that are still hiring. So Starry, we talked about that in previous videos. A lot of you have said that you needed to do some part-time work, and this is going to be the perfect part-time opportunity. Starry is an internet service provider. They provide internet services across the US. And what's cool is they do offer you training. They do provide you with equipment. It is basic like customer service, account management sort of work. And this role actually pays $19 an hour minimum. So if you've got more experience, or if you're in a certain part of the country, then you could actually be making more than that. So I do have the resumes already done for this. They're down below in the description box if you need them. But I just wanted to give you this little tip because some of you have been looking for part-time work. So they do have that flexible work from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. But then they say they will offer potentially 8 a.m. to 4 or 10 to 6 or other midday shifts, along with some of that weekend availability as required. So that is going to be something that you can certainly look forward to. And then I also wanted to remind you of the Amazon role for customer support on their ShopBop team. Okay, here is the job ID 2201310. Please go to the Amazon career site, type in this job ID, and this is how it comes up. So this position also pays starting at $19 per hour. Yes, that number can go up depending on your experience and what part of the country you live in. But if you're not familiar with ShopBop, it is basically kind of like a high-end luxury section of Amazon that sells like luxury accessories such as purses, wallets, jewelry. They sell like Louis Vuitton and Hermes and all those really high-end brands. And so you would be supporting those people that are calling in to check the status of their order, or maybe they're calling to report something, could be damaged, anything of that nature. It is a fully remote work from home position. And yes, Amazon will provide you with the equipment as well. So now, before we get into our Home Depot opportunity, I just wanted to give a shout out to Tamia that said, Jazzy, I got hired with Progressive for their customer service position. Starting pay is $21 and then $23 after 7 p.m. I start the second week of April. Congratulations to you, Tamia. And then Chanel said, hey, I was hired for the Delta remote position. Because you shared it here, I start March 13th. Thank you so much. And if you have not watched my previous Delta video that I put out another Delta video because they're hiring for this work from home opportunity again. So make sure you check that out. And yes, I did do the resume for that already. So some additional shout outs that I wanted to give was for Brittany Brown, who said, I used your resume tips for the flight attendant position. I made it through to the assessments and I have my face-to-face coming up. So we hope she got through, with the face-to-face and, is getting like that onboarding information to, do the first date. But yeah, the flight attendant position for Delta is back already as well. And somebody else, Sade, said, hey, got through all the assessments, scheduled for a video interview for early January. And then I read down in the comments further and she came back and said, yes, she passed all of the interviews. So congratulations to you. And then also Vinci got a job with Allstate using the resume templates, and she starts on March 27th. So we've got all these other positions of people getting jobs. They're doing the work. I'm so proud of all of you. And you make me so proud. That's all I can say. So for Home Depot, the job that we're going to talk about today, this one is going to be for no phones. It is a senior business analyst position on the messaging and chat team. So it's not the messaging and chat team. It is to support the messaging and chat team. So that would be the division or kind of like the business genre that this team, the business analyst team, is ultimately supporting. So let me go ahead and get this out of the way. It says the location is in Atlanta. That's because that's where the company is headquartered. But when you look down here at work location, it says remote virtual. It also says remote up here in the actual job title. So what that means is it says an associate is in a remote virtual role is not required to work from a designated Home Depot location to complete their job duties. So you have people that will say, Jazzy, but it says Atlanta. I don't care. I'm literally reading from the job description where it says this is remote and you are not required to work from a Home Depot location, nor are you required to work from Atlanta. It says we also refer to this as location independent, meaning you do not have to live in Atlanta to work this remote job. Okay. Now, if we look at the qualifications, we see that they're saying they want you to have prior experience in the application of research finding in retail environments, brand management, or category management. So what that means is retail management, of course, could be like clothing stores, any type of jewelry store, anything considered retail that a consumer just walks in, buys something and goes out, right? So if you've ever done any type of business analytics, let's say you could have done it for Walmart, you could have done it for Ross, any type of those clothing stores, those home goods stores, anything related to retail. And then they're saying have experience of statistical methods and modeling. If you have any type of experience in doing either SQL or you're really good with doing Excel spreadsheets, anything you're good at making charts or graphs, or you're good at building dashboards, that's going to all be very relevant experience. Okay. And I've put some of these things into the resume already to make sure that you all have those hot words, because this is definitely going to be a hot word. And if you've got the PMP certification, that's going to also be a hot word. Remember, these are preferred qualifications. If you don't have them, it is not a deal breaker. The minimum education that they're saying is to have a bachelor's degree or equivalent degree in a field of study related to the job. Let me give you some insider information. If you don't have a bachelor's degree, it is not a deal breaker, okay? What is more important to them is having some of the work experience and then being what they consider trainable, meaning that we're going to train you to do it the Home Depot way. So even when people don't have a lot of experience, that's actually a good thing, because then you're walking in and you're basically kind of like this blank canvas for them to fill you with everything that they want you to do their way. A lot of people will come from a company like 20 years ago, like with 20 years experience, and they'll come in, they'll want to do it their way and not the Home Depot way. And they're like, oh no, we don't want this candidate. Okay. So I wanted to give you all some interview help, because I know sometimes this stuff can be a little bit intimidating, right? So I wanted to give you some questions for you to think about so that you can feel better about speaking with the recruiters. Now, when I did a quick search of the business analyst Home Depot salary, for Glassdoor, they're actually showing that this salary is somewhere around $93,000 per year. So it's a very high paying job for the business analyst role. So let's get you that $93,000 and let's just talk about some of these interview questions, right? So the first question you'll probably get as an icebreaker from the recruiter is going to be, hey, do you have any experience with DIY or home improvement projects? Or the hiring manager might ask this also. So if you've never done anything like DIY related or home improvement related, it's not a huge deal. It's just they want to know that you're at least familiar with Home Depot. Like you're not mistaking Home Depot for like an electronics store or anything like that. So another thing that you may see come up in the interview process is going to be the company's values. They have 8 different values, and those values are giving back, taking care of our people, excellent customer service, building strong relationships, entrepreneurial spirit, respect for all people, creating shareholder value, and doing the right thing. So if I were you, I would just take a screenshot of this because it's probably going to come up somewhere in the interview process. And it's always a very good look for you to show the hiring manager that you've studied the values and that you appreciate those values. And because like they somehow resonate with you and who you are as a person. So some of the other fun facts that you'll probably want to know when you're going on this interview are going to pretty much be related to like the company itself. You're not going to be like quizzed on it, but it's good to show them again that you've done some research. So the headquarters of Home Depot is in Atlanta. It was founded in 1978, and the CEO, I believe, is Ed Decker. So I think they just got that new CEO like last year, maybe. So those are just, some conversation pieces that you may see come up depending on who you interview with. Now, these are some of the more dreaded questions that a lot of people struggle with, and usually they can't make it past this question, the tell me about yourself question, right? Or some people like to say, well, walk me through your resume. These are essentially the same type of question. They're wanting to know a little bit more about your background, and this is the opportunity for your personality to ultimately shine through. So when someone says, tell me about yourself, I like to take that as you want to know a little bit about me personally, but you're probably wanting to know 80% about my professional experience, right? So these are also things that you can apply to other interviews outside of Home Depot. These are very general. But what I would say to the tell me about yourself question is, I'd say, well, hi, my name is Jazzy. I live in Atlanta. And for the last few years, I've worked across customer support and I've worked across business analytics as well. I originally started out as a customer service rep for Apple support, where I did iPhone repairs. I set up Apple Care for customers and I provided troubleshooting. I wanted to do something a little bit more challenging, so I decided to go to T-Mobile and work as a lead billing associate. And that role really gave me a lot of exposure into the business side of things. So I was able to get more of an understanding of, the company's bottom line and how outdated accounts, cost the company money and things of that nature. So that really, allowed me to build on my technical knowledge. And that was when I started to get an introduction into business analytics. And so currently I actually work as a business analyst at my current job. And I am actually in the process of training to be a lead business analyst. So my day-to-day is pulling reports. It is communicating with different project managers just to make sure we're staying on track, and then sitting through various meetings to figure out how we can ultimately implement new systems and just ultimately improve our productivity. When I'm not doing any of those things, I do like to go to football games. Sometimes I like to cook and try new dishes, and then I will torture my friends by making them try those new dishes because I'm not the best cook, but I like to do it. I just like to do it for fun. So hopefully that answers your question, but let me know if there's anything else that you want me to dive deeper into. So do you see how in that example, we gave a brief history of each one of our jobs, at least the last 3. You don't want to talk through more than the last 3 jobs, okay? Because you don't want to put the person to sleep. So we gave a brief history of who we are. We talked about what we like to do for fun. And ultimately, this should give you the opportunity to breathe a little bit easier because now they know more about you, and it should make for a more natural conversation, right? So now another thing that they may ask is, what is your greatest strength and what is your greatest weakness? Now, when they talk about your greatest strength, they're wanting to know how you could be an asset to them. Okay, so your greatest strength what I always like to talk about is me being a master communicator. I will say, I start out by saying, well, one of my greatest strengths is my ability to communicate. I am definitely a bridge builder. I like to bring people together, which ultimately makes it easier for me to collaborate with different business units so that we can get things done quicker. We can be more efficient with how we all work together. And one thing about me, I don't like to spend a bunch of time, like sending 20 emails back and forth to someone. I'm the person that will go in and say, hey, let's do a quick meeting. Let me understand what you're working on so I can bring it back to my team. And I just like to essentially understand people and read people and learn how they like to communicate. So it ultimately makes it easier for me to know how to approach them. So I would definitely say communication and reading people is my biggest strength. Now, as far as my greatest weakness, one thing that I can say used to be a struggle for me years ago was I would be very hyper focused on completing projects. And I would be so focused that it would be the only thing that I would pretty much think about and breathe about. And as a result, that would keep me from being exposed to other types of projects and to other business needs. And so what was really awesome one day is my organization actually brought in someone to do some corporate training. And that person that they brought in was someone that offered time management and organizational skills. So it was a 4-hour workshop, and me and my coworkers went to that workshop, and it helped me to understand how I was focusing and why it was kind of like blocking me from, doing more things. And so that probably was one of the most transformative workshops I'd ever done. And so now I don't have that issue. Now I can work on different things and not be overwhelmed because I do have that time management and I do know how to use different types of software to help me ultimately stay organized. Okay, so that's how we talk about a weakness without making it seem like it's still a weakness. All they really want to see is that you've identified where you struggle and you did something about it, or you got some training on it, and now it's no longer a struggle, right? So another question you may get is going to be, tell me about a time when you had to deal with a difficult coworker. And an example that you could give is, well, you know what? There was a coworker that ultimately wasn't pulling their weight. They were kind of slacking on the job. They weren't helping us work any of the tickets or taking any of the customer calls. And so I went over to that coworker and I just asked them if they were okay. Turns out they just had a death in the family and they were really, really just grieving that loss and going through a difficult time. So I asked my manager if it would be okay to take over their workload for the day so that they could just go home and, have some time. And that person took a few days off. And when they came back, they did seem to be in a much better mood and they were more focused. And ultimately, it was good to understand why that person was being what we perceive as difficult when really they were just grieving. And so I like to take situations like that and not just go in being super judgmental because you never know what people are going through. But yeah, that is one situation that started out difficult, but it actually ended with just a lot of understanding and just figuring out how we could support that coworker, right? So another question that you may get is, well, tell me about a time where you missed a deadline. What did you do to resolve it? If you're someone that works in, let's say you work at a call center, you may not necessarily have a bunch of deadlines, but if you think about like maybe your training, maybe you were supposed to do some HR training or something like that, some online course or something, you could say, well, I know that I had a training that was due the next day, and unfortunately I lost power, so I wasn't able to complete that training due to there being power outages in my neighborhood for the next day or for the next 2 days. And so what I did was I reached out to the HR person and I told them that I still didn't have power. And as a result, they did extend that deadline. So I was able to get it completed that following Monday so that we could still be in compliance with, the training that we were required to be certified on. So in these examples, they just want to know, they know we're not robots. They know that people miss deadlines, but they want to know what you proactively did to make up for missing that deadline or to alert the people around you. And to, this is a how do you think about things sort of question, right? And ultimately, they're probably going to end the interview with, why should we hire you for the job? And the last thing that you ever want to talk about is things like, oh, because you pay well. You don't want to talk about how much money they pay or anything like that. But you want to speak to their pain points. And this is going to be if they've previously mentioned how they have a problem with attendance, or they have a problem with teammates not getting along, or they have a problem with using outdated systems. You want to play on those pain points. So you could say, I know having someone with an analytical mind and a heavy project management background is what would really bring more efficiency to this team. And when I start a job, I have 3 goals in mind. The first goal is, how can I contribute to the success of the company? Well, John, you've already explained that to me. My second goal is, how can I contribute to the productivity of the team? And you've already shared those examples with me, and I already know how I'm going to bridge these team members together, to just really make us a stronger team. And then my third goal is, what can I do to make my manager's life a little bit easier? So you've shared with me some of your pain points, and I understand those pain points, and I know how I can make your life a little bit easier. I know how I can bring the team up to speed on their training. I know how we can work towards all being more certified, and how we can work towards getting trained on the new systems that are being implemented. At this point, I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get the work done. And this is the company that I know I want to do it with. Okay. So in that question, or in that response, we've answered, why should we hire you for the job? And we've addressed, different levels of concern that the manager may have shared with you. That answer can vary. It can go in 100 different ways, but just always try to take note of what the hiring manager is saying they're struggling with, or what, other people that interview you, what they say is an issue with the team, so that you can kind of play off of those things, right? And some of the questions that you may want to ask the hiring manager are, what are 3 characteristics that, make up the ideal employee? Okay. Or what does training look like for the first 90 days? What are the worst parts of your job? What would you change about the company or the call center if you could change anything? And hopefully you can take these questions, if they say anything, just if they give you any type of insight, you can use that for your own personal information to say, okay, I know what they're looking for, and I know how to speak to those pain points, right? So I hope that all of you have taken away a lot of good information from this video. Good luck to all of you on the job interview, and let me know how it goes. The resume templates are down below, but let me know if you have any questions at all. And until the next time, I will see you in the next video. Bye.